Good morning. We are at Floydland Park here in Las Vegas. This is the closest place I could find a fish to answer a question that I got on one of my videos asking if I could do a casting distance review for the KastKing Kestrel Air Micro. And you know, I thought I'd come out here to the water and give you guys a demonstration of the casting distance and capabilities. Use it as an excuse to get a line in the water. You do see a little bit of surface action. In the winter, they stock trout here. This time of year, it's catfish and bluegill, just to demonstrate the castability of this. This is a custom rod. This is a 3-foot ice rod built into a spiral wrap BFS rod. And it is gonna load up a little bit differently than what you guys would normally expect from a BFS rod. I think that I designed this rod originally to cast down into the sub 2 gram weight class, so under the 1/16th range. All right, so we're gonna set up here. Here's how we're gonna run it. Got a scale. Okay. 5.64 with the drop shot. So I hit the tree. I think we lost the weight on the first cast too. Be right back. 30, 40, 50. So we got over 50 feet. I would say it would have gone even out to here. Let's say we'd almost gotten 60 feet of casting distance. So that first weight got stuck in the tree, fell in the grass. Now I can't find it. So we're gonna be using lures instead. So 6 grams, nearly 6 grams, 60 feet. Let's see if we can find something similar in size to that. So that was 5.6. That's about 4 grams. 1/8 is 3.4 here, close to it. I'm gonna tie on a little fly ring just so we can swap lures. Let's start here. 1/8. 3.46. All right, total weight with that clip, 3.78. I'm gonna try not to get it stuck in the tree this time. Do a couple of those. We're landing right in line with that branch, which is about 50 feet. Okay, we'll measure that one out. Here's 10, the leaf. 20. 30. 40. 50. We landed right here. 49. So 49 with 1/8. 3.7 grams. Goes almost 50 feet. Could have swung it a little harder. That would have been 50 feet easily. Okay. Swap out. Let's go a little lighter. 3.7. Tungsten drop shot. What's lighter than that? Let's try one of these little Castmasters. This Castmaster, I believe, is in the 2 gram, 2.3. I do have some with a single hook that I'll switch to just so I don't get snagged up in the grass here. Yeah, this is also 2.3. A little bit lighter, 2.4. A little heavier. Put that on. .3. I haven't made an adjustment to this reel yet. Between the 4 and 5 gram range, not a lot of adjustment is needed. I did notice a little bit of dragging on that. I use really, really low brakes, but notice this. Pressed and the lure is not falling, so I am gonna reduce the tension until it drops. It's a little fast, slow it down. I keep my brakes around 1 and 2. I like to use my thumb on the spool. Ready? Okay. We're gonna do one more, cast a little harder. Hit the tree again. Actually used a lot of line that time. Let's see, let's see where that landed. We went through the tree, but we landed back here again at 50 feet. It went through the leaf, punched a hole through the leaf. We'll do another one like that. Try not to hit the tree. Slight backlash. You guys can see the line started wrapping up to the top of the spool there. Very slight backlash, tighten it down. And we are, so that's 40. And we landed right here. So we're at 48. So yeah, we're getting between 45 and 50. Now, Castmaster and drop shot are gonna go further than a jerkbait or a, you know, some other soft plastic rig like a net or Texas or whatever, just because they have a little bit more wind resistance. But again, that was 48 feet total weight with the fly clip and a single hook swap, 2.79. And we'll swap that out, see how much lighter we can get. I believe these flies are 2 grams. Little nymphs. Now that's a 1 gram nymph, so we'll get there. We're at 2.5, I want to get to 2. It's a 1 gram Castmaster. Here's a jerkbait, 2.6. Let's see, a little spinner. Now that's got a lot of wind resistance. That's 2 grams. 2 grams with a lot of wind resistance. So this will give you an accurate representation of a MEP spinner, the single hook swapped at 2 grams. Now that's not bad. That's hitting 45. Now, I didn't have to make any big adjustments. That ½ gram is not going to change much, though this does allow a lot of customizability. It's at 40 to 45 feet. 2 grams, 40 to 45 feet. So down in this range, 40, 45 feet, 2 gram spinner. Now spinner's gonna have a little bit more wind resistance if you're using a 2 gram drop shot or a 2 gram weight without any blade on it or without any additional surface area. It could go further. You could also maybe size down online if you could somehow find a 4-pound braid. You know, this is 6-pound braid to a 4-pound leader with an FG knot. If you're using a longer rod, you might get a little bit more casting distance out of 2 grams, but considering this is a 3-foot rod and we're using 6-pound to 4-pound, we're getting about 45 feet with 2 grams. It's not bad. I've not backlashed to the point where I have to untangle it yet today. So, you know, I'm using the brakes on 2. This is very user-friendly. I'm using the brakes on 2 and I'm adjusting the tension knob so that it drops slowly and stops when it hits the ground without any spool movement. I also only spool about 15 to 20 yards of line, so I don't have extra line on the spool available for a backlash to happen. All right, let's look at a trout magnet. That's 1 gram. So trout magnet rigged up, 0.95 with the fly clip. We're at 1.03 grams. So let's give that a shot. Now this is starting to get down into the range that I usually cast with this rod. Turn the brakes down even more. I like casting around 1 gram. 1 to 2 grams is my favorite. Under 1 gram if I really needed to for some whatever reason. But let's see let's see trout magnet. Now that went out to the left, so that tells me that I'm a little bit over braked, which is fine. You know, you can correct with your casts. I can turn this down another click. It's got a lot of customizability. Still out to the left, we're at about 30 feet. Let's see. Slightly over braking. Turn it down. It's got incremental clicks. It's got numbers, but it also has the incremental clicks, which is nice. Slight backlash, not enough to be a problem yet. We're hitting about 35 to 40 feet on these casts. I'm letting go slightly sooner. I'm getting a slight backlash near the beginning, which means that the brakes are tuned to prevent the backlash, but just barely at this point. And we got a little bit of wind blowing from our right side to our left side. With 1 gram going 35 feet. So yeah, that's dropping quickly. I'm gonna do just a slight increase on tension. Handled pretty good. I'm able to stop it with my thumb before any major backlash. I mean, that's a trout magnet. That's usually gonna be reserved for your ultralight setups. Yeah. And we're still hitting 35 feet. Okay. So trout magnet, pretty much dialed in. I'm moving kind of quick just because I want to try and get down under 1 gram, and I don't want peacocks to eat my lures here. Okay, you guys are, hi, good morning. Good morning. Almost 38 feet. Minimal effort on the adjustments here. I mean, it took about 2 or 3 casts to get it dialed into where the backlash is not affecting the performance. With this fly clip is just at 1.02 grams. Let's see if we can get any lighter. Okay, I'm gonna cut off the fly clip, piece of lead split shot, which is 0.72. We're gonna clip this right onto, now again, we're at under a gram, we're at 0.72 of a gram. That's a piece of split shot. Looks like our tension is set just right. Let's give that a shot. So it does get sent out to the left. Again, that's the braking system. You guys are gonna have to get used to how those brakes work, and you'll eventually get used to straightening out your shot. I mean, the fact that I just made 2 casts, 0.7 of a gram, with no troublesome backlash, right? Like that, you could have just spooled that back up or just put some tension on it, and that would have solved that kind of a backlash. And we're still at close to 35 feet. So I'd comfortably say that's, you know, 10 yards casting under a gram. Turn the brakes down even more. I mean, slightly tighter if you're getting backlash, slightly looser if you're comfortable thumbing the spool. And you want a little bit more casting distance. Okay. And part of the challenge here today is that I'm switching the weight every few casts here just to demonstrate. Really what's going to happen if you're out there and you're fishing, you're going to plan ahead and you're going to think of what lure you want to put on there, maybe even set up the night before, do a couple test casts, really get dialed into the weight that you're going to be using. And not a lot of people are using flies, you know, not a lot of people are bait casting flies, and I love that it's even possible. I think that this reel is making it possible to do that, and it's kind of bridging the gap between traditional fishing and fly fishing. I mean, I know you could probably get, you know, 2 or 3 times the distance with a fly rod at this weight. You know, you'd be nymphing and 9-foot rod and swinging around, you know, heavy line. You'd be able to get it out there, but this is a different kind of experience. You know, this is a short rod. This is a very lightweight setup. You know, this fits into a lot of situations that you probably wouldn't be able to get your fly rod into. And I think that is worth noting. You know, there's little crevices along the edges of this. You know, I could go between those trees. I can be standing in brush and cast under my feet. And I can get away with those casts in areas where you can't use traditional fishing gear. These are backlashing slightly at the beginning and slightly at the end. So we're at just under a gram, 0.7. Let's see. We're getting about 35 feet still. So I'm gonna go 1 click up on the brakes. I'm gonna do just slightly tighter. Now I'm just trying to get more distance, so no backlash there, right? If you're, I consider no backlash. If you're able to correct it without stopping the spool. So if I were to cast and it lands in the water and there's no backlash, or if there's a slight backlash and I pull up and the spool tightens the line without my effort, I don't think that that's a backlash. Even if there's a little bit of line jumping off the spool, it's not always a tangle. Here's another thing too that you guys may want to consider. Hold the spool center your level wind. Center the level wind before your cast. And that's another way to increase the casting distance. Here you can, it goes a little further because there's less drag as the line is being pulled off the spool left and right. I'd say that's still getting really close to about, and this line is too heavy for this weight. So you would have to size down from 6-pound line. I think you want some very soft, high quality, maybe 4 when you're trying to optimize casting distance with such a light weight. You really don't have a choice but to optimize all the components. So, you know, this being a spiral wrap, I wanted this to be able to handle a lot of weight, and it's a very flexible fiberglass rod. So like I don't think that this is optimized for casting distance. This is essentially an ice rod that I put a bait caster on. You know, you can get a 5 or a 6 foot rod, I think, and like the Caesars are nice, the Mavlos Delicacy, the Resolute, those rods are really common. The ones that are pretty much readily available, and you can go grab those and throw this on there and you'll have a pretty good experience with it. My brother uses the Caesar rod, the shorter one, in an ultralight, and it's good. I think you can handle light to ultralight with this. I mean, and feather light is what some people are calling it now, and DFS has a really wide range, and a lot of people try to put stuff into boxes and categorize, but I think if you're casting this small, I mean, this is a really good reel for it. And for right now, I saw it was on sale, 9% off, so it's at $135. That's, you know, I originally paid $150, but you know, that's a steal for the capability that this thing has. I mean, I can go lower. Let's see if I can get a little lower on the weight. I mean, my scale's getting, okay, that's 0.22. So put on 2 of these smaller split shot and just see if we can dial in a 1/2 gram. And put a little bead in the middle and a split shot just to add some weight. It's a glass bead. So this is 0.4. This is 0.41. I kind of want to go just a pinch heavier, but okay. I mean, you're looking at, this is actual fly weight. That's 2 split shots, 0.41. Again, we're not optimized for the lighter lines. We've got 6-pound and 4-pound line. It's a realistic thing that you'd be using. Like I was using this for trout fishing. This isn't even dropping, so we'll loosen this up a bit. Okay. We'll start kind of light with this one, I think. Okay, no backlash. Nice light cast, nice forehand cast like this. Underhand cast, no backlash. So just getting dialed in. Could go a little looser on the tension. Yeah, so that's looking good. Brakes are gonna be really low. We don't have a lot of speed coming out of it, so let's see. Little backlash. Good thing about these lightweights, a backlash is gonna stop the lure rather than dig out a really nasty backlash unless you're swinging too hard. So, you know, use the appropriate amount of force for the weight that you're using. We're at less than 1/2 gram right now. We're at 0.4 of a gram, and I mean, yeah, you can cast it. You're gonna end up with, you know, this 0.7 was fine. I've casted 0.6 and 0.5. I mean, 0.4 is getting down into that range where it might just be better to go with a super ultralight fly rod if you're trying to really, or super ultralight spinning rod, or a fly rod if you're trying to get a lot of casting distance. I mean, this is still going pretty good. I mean, I like this setup for things like trout fishing in creeks. You guys have seen me use it in creek videos. You guys have seen me use it in the fishing contaminated water video, and that's where I got this comment to do a casting review of this reel. I was casting a 4-gram jerkbait in that video. That was, you know, a piece of cake for something like this. I mean, that's happening in real time. I'm able to untangle and get back to casting pretty quickly. I'll do a little breakdown or a chart of the casting distance for each weight at the end here, so you guys can just see a summary. But I don't think there's much use in going under 0.4 of a gram. I think that you guys can experiment with it. If that's something that you're going to be doing, I don't think I would ever really cast under there. 0.4 of a gram was going about 20 feet with slight backlash on the cast. It wasn't bad. I think it's still a fun way to fish. You know, you can throw on something like a trout magnet really easily. You can throw on something like a larger nymph like this, like a 1 gram nymph like that, and you could fly fish using a BFS setup, which I think is amazing. Even some of these lighter ones, if you put a bobber on it, which I've done before, you can surface fish a dry fly. You could put the dry fly on there and then a bobber, and these little cork bobbers are they add just enough weight. You know, some of these are about a half a gram to a gram. I make my own little slip bobbers, so I'll throw a little bead and a little bobber stopper on there, and I can throw maybe, you know, throw one of these trout magnets underneath it and float a trout magnet. Can use one of these little jig heads, and I use these. I'll link these jig heads down in the description. You guys can see a little bit of what tackle I use. You know, we've got tungsten Texas weights, so we got 1/16 tungsten Texas rig weights, 1/8 tungsten. We got some EWGs. Those are from Creek Life. So these tiny EWG hooks, these are awesome for rigging up stuff like little Berkley worms. I can't even get them out of here, but you know, that's a little EWG hooks. And we got, you know, I got a bunch of little miscellaneous things in here, but I mean, this is the kind of stuff that I take out to the water. So I mean, there's an ant. You could add a little bit of weight to this ant. It could slow sink if you wanted to. I do take this same box whenever I go fly fish too. I've done that a couple times where I bring both of the setups, so if I need more distance, I can throw it on a fly rod. But there's that. My most favorite are these little jerkbaits and these Castmasters. And I mean, these are just Rapala CD1s, all of these. We've got some Yozuri in here, heavy ones, some generic floating ones that you can drive down and then they slowly float up. The 1, 2, and 2.5 gram Castmasters in here. Oops. And then the 1/16 and 1/32 spinners, and that's all stuff that you can use on this reel. You know, that's all easy work for this kind of a reel. And then I keep the little soft plastic and jig head, so if I want to do Neds or drop shots, I keep those in there. These are Donkey Tail Juniors from mule fishing. Those are sweet because you can cut them to be smaller if you want to use them. They work great with the Creek Life EWGs. These are Walmart spoiler shads. These are great little cheap lures that you can just throw on and toss out there. And then I got a couple scented baits, so the power bait and the Berkley worms, nymphs, lots of trout magnets, and then some little larvas from Z-Man. All good stuff. But yeah, thanks for asking the question. I hope that was helpful. I hope it helps you make an informed decision about the reel. I'm not saying that it's better than any other ones that that are out there in that price range. I haven't tried those. I jumped on this one because it was a new release and I wanted to test it out, and I was extremely happy with it. I kept it, and it is my main BFS reel now. I worked on the HICC 50 for a couple months, and I was happy with it. I was using it on the Mavlos Delicacy, and I was able to cast down to 2 grams pretty easily. And I think that if you want to get under that 2 gram range and get down into sub-gram, I think that this is where it starts at about 150. Like I said, on sale right now for 135, I think. So that's at the time of making the video. And I mean, it's a sweet reel. It's fun. It's super lightweight, so I was able to go with a fiberglass rod and you know, add a little bit of weight to the setup because I wanted to be able to reel in some bigger stuff. You know, I've caught largemouth bass on this very easily. I've caught big carp. I'll show you guys a picture. And yeah, handles it like a dream. I mean, everything clicks. This is cool. I like that drag adjustments click, tensions click. So, right, it has a clicking drag, which I think is awesome. Not a lot of bait casters have that. Bait Finesse is starting to get that, and I think that's pretty sweet. You got clicks over here. I think, you know, they did an awesome job with everything. It slides into drag very smoothly. It has a lot of drag also. It can get really heavy on the drag, which is sweet. Like I said, carp and bass are pretty easy on this thing. I like that they made these handles without any additional, you know, padding or rubber or anything. It's very sensitive. It allows you to feel everything that's going on. Cool carbon fiber details. I mean, it's a dream. It really is. It's a nice reel. It's definitely something I'd recommend. I've gotten other people that I fish with into it. My brother uses it. So yeah, I mean, go check it out. I put a link down in the description. You guys can go see. Go read other people's reviews and see what you think. I mean, even give it a shot, and if you don't like it, return it. But I don't think you're gonna want to return it after you use it. That's where I was at. I was like, it's a new release. I know people are gonna ask about it. I wanted to try it, and I ended up out of the reels that I was trying, this is the one that stuck. So thanks for watching. Thanks for the comment. I appreciate you guys, and until next time, I'm gonna maybe go catch some fish. Bluegill.